Hey, it's Jody Taylor, snackysays.com. Welcome back to my podcast. Today I have for you Totally Unrelated Home. So, Totally Unrelated was a series of audio recordings that I made for my subscribers in 2021 because at the time I was putting out newsletters, had a lot of ideas, I still do, but they wouldn't fit with the theme of that month's newsletter. So I started these recordings called Totally Unrelated. So the one that I'm presenting to you all today is home. And as you can guess, it's about home. I talk about my definition of home, the feeling of home, and I pose the question of what does home mean to you? What's your definition? Is it a feeling? Is it a place? Is it a person? And I do a lot of paraphrasing, a whole lot of paraphrasing. I'm not like, I mention what are pop references to me, and I mention books and lyrics, and I'm totally paraphrasing. I don't think I have like a quote in the whole recording, but I wanted to briefly talk about one of those paraphrases, and it was Maya Angelou quoting Robert Frost. And the exact quote is, "Home is where when you go there, no one can put you out." And I believe when I made the initial recording, I thought that this quote appeared in her introduction. I couldn't quite remember where it appeared in this book, but it actually appears in Maya Angelou's cookbook. She has more than one, but this particular cookbook is called Hallelujah, the Welcome Table. And this quote is featured in the recipe Oprah's Suffocated Chicken recipe. So I will put a link to everything that I mentioned, including this quote and the cookbook. And I'll put links to the things that I mentioned in the Totally Unrelated Home episode from my newsletter. At any rate, please enjoy. Thank you for listening to this intro, which I hope will give you more context. This is Jody Taylor of snackysays.com. Hey, snackysays.com subscribers. Hey, it's Jody Taylor of snackysays.com. So, I forgot to put deodorant on. I am getting ready to work out, but I had a thought, and so I thought we're welcome to Totally Unrelated, where we talk about things totally unrelated to what's in your main newsletter. Today's topic is not deodorant. I just need it because I'm about to work out, but I'll put it on after this recording. Today's topic is home. I was just, putting on my workout clothes, and I was thinking about home. I was going through my old phone. I think I mentioned another totally unrelated. Oh yeah, I recorded a totally unrelated about how I repel electronics. And so I mentioned my old phone because I was trying to move some photos. So anyway, when I went through that phone, I found a recording that I did when I joined in the before times, it was 2019, summer 2019, I joined a remote work. It was like a challenge, like find a remote job in 30 days challenge. And I had to record a video. And I actually recorded this video from Jamaica. I was in Jamaica at the time. And the last thing I said is I was saying, who I was. It was like an intro video. Everyone did one. Who I was, what I had been doing, where I'd been living, and where I was. And I was like, well, I said something like, I am thinking about where is home. I'm trying to define that right now. So in 2019, for those of you who are new to the blog or who didn't know me or you weren't following me on Instagram, not that I'm doing anything on Instagram now, but anyway, at that time I had officially left my job. Had been months. I had left my job in Korea, and I had been traveling 2019. Thank God. Who knew? No one ever expects a Spanish Inquisition, right? Bonus points if you know what movie that's from. Anyway, I had been traveling a lot, and I was trying to figure out where home was. Like where did I feel at home? Where was home for me? Was it New York? Was it Jamaica? Was it Korea? Was it someplace else in Asia? Where was it? And so at the time, and since then, I have so many different feelings. And when I think of home, I think, okay, home. Well, I'll just give you some some pop references, or they're pop references to me, but different definitions of home. Um, the Temptations have a song. I think I'm gonna put links to all this stuff because I'm gonna paraphrase probably most of it. But anyway, you might recall the Temptations song. It starts, "Papa was a Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home." And for a while, I felt that way. I'm when I say a while, or there was a time, that's a better way to say it. There's a time where I felt, well, wherever I am, that's home, right? Um, and then there is a line, if you are a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, get at me, hit reply. Let's chat about it because I am a hardcore fan. If you're a fan like you, I've watched all of the movies. And so anyway, there's a line in Thor Ragnarok between Odin and Thor, and or actually maybe also Loki's in that scene. Anyway, wrong details. But he says to him, Asgard, which is where they're from, it's not a place, it's a people. So to me, that's the same thing. Home is not a place, it's a people, or it might be a person. And I've also felt like that. And that's a really sweet feeling. The other way to think of home is like if you've ever seen The Wiz, starring Stephanie Mills. She also has a song which is like a a tribute to the people from The Wiz. And there's a line that says, "When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing." That's another way to think of home. That song always makes me so emotional. I remember like the first time I heard it, like really, really heard it, and I am a lyrics buff. I love a good lyric. You know, like if you want to hear good lyrics, listen to Dwight Yoakam, circa 1990s. Country music, the man is excellent with a pen. I digress. Wrong details. No, actually, seriously. Like, ooh, lyrics. Lyrics. Okay, so I'm gonna do a totally unrelated about lyrics. I am. Okay, so um I had just gotten off so I remember this so clearly. I had just gotten off the train, um, elevated platform in Brooklyn, and I was listening to Stephanie Mills' Home, and I think I was listening on my CD player, or was it a cassette? Shit. I think it was a CD player. Anyway, and the lyrics really struck me, and I felt really emotional. I always feel emotional when I hear that song. It's a really sweet song. If you've never heard it or you haven't heard it in a long time, I strongly encourage you to check it out. Her voice is amazing, incredible talent. And then another way to think of home, I think this is my last one, because these are the I guess 4 or 5 thoughts that bounce around my head and have been bouncing around my head for years. But you can probably put these in chronological order. I didn't just now, and you can figure out where my head was at. Like maybe you can put together a time frame, maybe not, because I could have just discovered Stephanie Mills, but I didn't. Anyway, the last one is a quote from Maya Angelou, and this quote is actually in one of her cookbooks, and it's the quote appears, I believe, before her forward. Let me think about this. I feel like it appeared before her forward, and I feel like Oprah did the introduction to that book. I feel like she's had a lot of cookbooks. Anyway, I happen to I think I borrowed this cookbook from the Brooklyn Public Library. Anyway, the quote goes, "Home is someplace no one can throw you out of." Home is someplace no one can throw you out of, put you out of. that also is something that deeply resonates with me. It's self-explanatory. So all of these, wait, there was one, there's one more, it just came to me and then it disappeared. Hopefully I can remember it before I stopped recording. Um, I think actually I'm going to pause to see if I can remember. Okay, I'm back. It's a few minutes later. I have deodorant on and I have a hot cup of coffee and I remember the last one. But I actually want to go back because I said the Maya Angelou quote, home is someplace no one can throw you out of or put you out of. And I said it's self-explanatory, but maybe it's not. So let me talk about my take on it. And I think, you know, I guess what I mean by that, or the feeling I get when I hear that and when I read it, is unconditional. Like home is someplace where you belong unconditionally, and not when things go south, or it's no longer convenient, or you don't own the place. So I guess my question for myself is, how do I have a home that truly is mine, that no one can put me out of? You know, whether that's a landlord or a roomie or any situation. It's like a home is a home until it's no longer convenient, or convenient is one word that you can use, convenient, or like, for example, if you've ever lived someplace that had a rent hike and you couldn't afford it, and the whole point was not for you to afford it, but for you to move out so that they could rent to someone else. That's one example. Or you have a roommate, or you're staying with someone and they no longer want you to stay with them for whatever reason. Now, everyone might have a different take on it, but I just wanted to give some more context to my take on it. So the last but not least, home is where you can waltz in and open the refrigerator. I've also had that thought, and I always think that this is just like my little what's that word? I was barometer. You know, like if you can walk into someone's home and open the refrigerator, I think it indicates your relationship with them. It indicates how comfortable you are in their home, how comfortable they are. And it at the very least, if it's not your home, you can feel at home. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on home? Do you have any expressions or philosophies, or is there a word or phrase that comes to mind when you think about being home? There are a couple I haven't said, like home is where the heart is, home is where my ass is, which is akin, I think, to wherever I lay my hat, right? Where my ass is. Mi casa es su casa. So, yeah, what are your thoughts? What have been your experiences over the years, if you want to share? And I don't mean experiences like your experiences, your deep experiences with home or feeling at home, but kind of your philosophy, if you have one, or if you think about home, what is your definition? What comes to mind? Is it a place, a person, a group of people? Is it a feeling? You know, is it feeling comfortable and at ease and welcome? Capital letters, welcome. That's a big theme in my life, feeling welcome. Yeah, so I'm going to work out now. Once again, I have managed to make this a bit longer. I think I'm going to stop saying, oh, this is the short and sweet version, 5 to 7 minutes, totally unrelated. All right, so this is Jody Taylor. You have been listening to Totally Unrelated, where we talk about things. I don't think I said this in the beginning. We talk about things that are different. They're totally unrelated from the main topic of your newsletter. Again, this is Jody Taylor of snackysays.com, and you have been listening to Totally Unrelated.